Okay, if everyone's here, then I think I'm gonna get started. Okay, so hi everyone, good evening, good morning, or good afternoon, wherever you're joining us from around the world. I'm Christina and I'm from Massachusetts, and I'm super thrilled to be hosting today's BGIC learning session alongside John, Nelson, and David. And we're incredibly honored to be invited by the BGIC committee to lead a special session focused on one of the most exciting frontiers in finance, which is AI-powered investment research. As technology continues to reshape the financial world, artificial intelligence is becoming a true game changer. It's not just enhancing how we analyze companies and industries, it's making high-level investment insights more accessible than ever, especially for young investors and students like us. That's why today we're introducing Stocky, a powerful AI-driven investment research platform designed to transform how we study markets, evaluate research opportunities, and make smarter, faster financial decisions. To show us how it works, I'm super excited to introduce our extra special speaker, John Fang, a junior at UC Berkeley majoring in economics and data science. John brings a wealth of experience at the intersection of AI and finance, and he's deeply involved in shaping how Stocky empowers the generation of investors. John will now walk us through a live demo of how Stocky works and give us a first-hand look at how AI is revolutionizing investment research. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming John.
Hi everybody. I'm John Fang. I'm here today to present you Stocky. So we're in the transformative time for investment research. Gone are the days when advanced tools were only available to hedge funds and institutions. Stocky is leading the shift by making intelligent, powerful insights accessible to everyone. Whether you're a student, an inspiring analyst, or a team competing in BGIC. This is your chance to leap into the future of strategy-driven investing. Next slide. This is what our homepage looks like. Next slide. So Stocky is more than a research tool. It's an educational accelerator. With Stocky, you can conduct rigorous investment research, build back-tested strategies, visualize your thesis with data, apply real hedge fund methods, and sharpen your storytelling for client-ready pitches. This is your sandbox to experiment, learn, and to stand out in BGIC, and prepare for future roles in finance research or data-driven investing. Next slide. What makes Stocky truly unique is its simplicity combined with institutional grade power. Unlike many platforms like TradingView, where you often need to write code to build or even understand strategy, Stocky removes that barrier entirely. You don't need to learn PineScript or know how to reverse engineer someone else's logic. Instead, you focus purely on your investment thinking. Stocky takes care of the technical execution, so you can test and refine strategies without touching a line of code. We're also built in seamless collaboration, which is ideal for team projects. Plus, we have real-time and historical market data. And if you ever need help, our built-in AI assistants can explain financial concepts or even suggest ideas. It's like having a quant, a coach, and a research assistant all in one platform, all in one place. Next slide. Let's walk through the 4 core features we'll be using. First of all, we'll be using Discover, which is by using our advanced screener or AI agents to surface the promising investment ideas tailored to your filters. Then you'll validate by backtesting your theories using real historical data with our factor backtester and strategy builder. Then you can monitor and by tracking positions, ideas, and market shifts in real time using personalized watch lists and alerts. Lastly, you can research by accessing an extensive library and chat with DeepThink, our AI copilot that delivers instant insights. Excellent. Thank you. Now, now, Nelson will provide us with a live demo.
Awesome. Let me just share my screen real quick. All right. Can everybody see? All right. So as you know, John mentioned before, this is our homepage. And I think the first tool that he sort of mentioned is our stock screener, right? I think when you're sort of looking, through these companies at a very fundamental base, I think it's important to know that, which metric are sort of important. So I prepared an answer of my own ahead of time, so I guess I don't have to wait through, um, you know, the time. So first of all, I decided to choose the highest market cap metric. And generally speaking, they do have the best performances. However, this is just one metric. I think you guys should consider them from all angles. Um, and what I did is ask the stock screener to find me 10 stock with the highest market cap within the S&P 500. It basically is setting up those parameters, and I asked it to run a back test, right? And it clearly shows that stocks with the highest market cap outperforms the market. The strategy nav is higher than the S&P 500. And so after that, right, then I mentioned the justified part with the quant back testing. And I think that, this is just very one feature that we offer. You guys are free to explore a lot more of them. But we do cover a wider range of stocks. I don't think we're going to get to the OTC markets or anything too small, but anything within the S&P 500, we have full coverage for. And also a lot of US, China A shares, as well as some crypto names. Um, and yeah, you guys are feel free to scroll through this list. It's very long, so feel free to, uh, really dig your heels down into these companies. Second to that, as I already showed before, these are some personal libraries. I think, from my perspective, if I was to do a fundamental research report on a company, I would look at their earnings a lot, right? And these are just some other questions that I asked before. For example, I asked a Coinbase agent on give me some key insights into Coinbase earnings, which was a day ago. Yeah. And it will give you the breakdown of Q2's earnings with their reports. And also over here, you can see that there's technical, or maybe for you guys, because it's a company report, maybe the fundamentals more important. But you know, you can also find a lot of insights from other influencers, which I think is also really nice. You can take on their perspective and even test their theories with their backtest, or something for you to act on. I always think it's interesting just to look at how other people sees the world. And moving further, you can have your watch list, which obviously will let you monitor a group of stocks that you might be interested in. Sorry, it's just giving time to load. My Wi-Fi is really bad. And ultimately, right, you get to monitor your stocks as well as, have an idea of how the recent trends of these have been. And finally, if you have any, previous asked questions that you might, want to go back to, usually it's all in your history. And as you can see, I run a lot of EVA, FSC, DuPont, things like this. And I think that, if I was writing a research paper, once again, I would dig deep into the fundamentals, but also I would take a step back and sort of try to see the broader market, right? To see what kind of cycle we're in. Right. And this test says that we're probably in a pretty big, tech leading time, where the market concentration is in tech. So these are the telltale signs that I think will, support your evidence, not only from a fundamental perspective, but also from a macro and micro overall perspective. Great. Anyone have any questions? Hello?
how good is the Stocky at generating like an investment thesis?
So I think if you're trying to ask Stocky, right, to tell you to buy or sell a stock, I don't think that's the role we play here. I think rather than that, we're here to provide the data and the sources to, you know, back up your thesis that you're making, right? I think if it's a, right, then if you're asking for a thesis, then this thing's pretty much doing your job, right? I think it's important that, we as analysts come up with the ideas, depending on your understanding of the market, depending on your understanding of the fundamental of the market, as well as the fundamental of these companies. And then with these understandings, you go and test your theories or your, ideas on factual data to support your thesis. I think that's a much better way. Any other questions?
Great. Also, I saw like on the agents, you had like each company had like positives and negatives. How is that determined?
Oh yeah. Let's go to NVIDIA, the largest cap of their all. So let it load once again. My Wi-Fi is not great. I'll first explain, right? So the sources come from here, right? These are either accounts that we've web crawled from Twitter, from CNBC, from YouTube. Unfortunately, it's from in Chinese. But we generally generate a market effect, which highlights, the effect of the news, right? And AI would generate this. We wouldn't be doing this by hand. That would be way too much work. Um, and it'll basically give you a quick summary and a breakdown on how the AI think this news will affect, for example, here NVIDIA. And based on these sources, in general, after combining, right, if you scroll down, there's tons and tons and tons of them. Based on these recent sources, NVIDIA would come in as a negative within the sentiment score. But of course, this at this place, it also breaks down in really detail why. Here showing the pros, and after that, here showing the cons. And I think it's a really nice tool for, analysts to have a gauge on whether, the sources out there are for NVIDIA. But plus, right, these are just for one point of reference. A lot of the times, markets love to climb the wall of worry, which is, people keep on saying that there's a crash, there's a bubble, right? But usually the bubble doesn't really pop when everybody stops talking about it. So once again, it's a very, very nice sentiment engagement tool to see how, each investor or the large quantity investor think of, a stock. Any other question? Oh, I see some chats. Of course, a beginner can use this tool. I think um, there's a lot of joy in just exploring, right? Asking random questions, and to see, the quality of the answer you get out of it. Since it is a very, very new tool, I think we're all exploring this at the same time. But I think, starting from uh, the tools that we already offer, you can basically get all the fundamental data from these, right? Um, and I think it's really important that you have a tool, right by your side, your agent, to ask you any question, right? You can literally say, "What is PE?" And it'll give you that answer right away. Hold on, let me move the chat so I can see it. Right? And it's sort of actually here, it's pretty useful for me because everything is in relativity. So it's actually quite nice that it gives me the S&P 500's PE as well. But I think that, mess around with the tool, try different kinds of questions and see what kind of answers it gives you. Any other questions?
Um, Sorry, I think someone has their hand raised.
Yeah,
Oh,
Edric, go ahead.
Yeah, so it seems like the tool, like the analysis is pretty like thorough in terms of both like fundamental analysis
mhm.
and then also like market sentiment. But
Mhm.
would you say like in the context of like BGIC, are we meant to use it more as like a starting point for selecting stocks, since it seems like a lot of the more like traditional ways of maybe like valuing stock is already like built into the tool?
Mhm. Um, I think the tool offers more than just a starting point. I think, for example, if you decide to pick NVIDIA, right, or any other stock in general, based on their, strong fundamentals, their strong recent market trends, um, or even the fact that like semiconductor has been leading the market for the past couple of years, right? I think if you decide to pick Nvidia, if you dig deep into Stocky, it'll give you even further more sophisticated answer on like which seasons do Nvidia perform best. Do you expect volatility in August, or some other things that could be considered useful in a time of relatively uh well, I don't want to say high volatility because it just rose yesterday, but we do have tariffs, right? We do have economic uncertainties and at times like that. And I think, we sort of offer more insights on the company's right, not only the company's fundamentals, but as well as the overall market condition. But I can see that like in the context of BGIC, um, after digging down deeper into the company, right, you would have to look at I would say a lot about their management team. I would have to think that you would have to break down their businesses, all of which Stocky can help you with. And I think, it's not only for, stock screening, but also for deeper research as well. Um, and I see that here, Abigail asks, what makes Stocky stand out from other AI programs that do similar things? I think a very, very big part of what makes us different is that our data is, or a lot of the times, if you ask ChatGPT a question on, historical data, right, it would usually do a web search, right, do an agentic web search. And a lot of the times, those data are not timestamped, so they could be wrong in that sense. And in addition to that, they can just have wrong data. People can just say the wrong data on the web. In addition to that, Mark, they do hallucinate. After all, they're very, very big models, and chunking can be a problem. And so I think that, but for us as Stocky, a lot of our data is, through an API connection through a very trusted financial source. So our job is to use factual and really correct data to back up your thesis instead of some, random number, your Perplexity or ChatGPT or Claude script off the web. I think that's the key difference that we make here. In addition to that, the next question is, so this is a data gathering tool. Sorry, I can't. And not an evaluation tool, right? So for the most part, I think if you're looking at it from an evaluation metric stance, we do have P ratios, we do have EPS, EV/EBITDA, we have these data, but yes, it would be correct as it's not for the data gatheration, and we wouldn't provide an evaluation ourselves as the platform, but we do provide the data for you to do the evaluation. Any other questions?
Like hypothetically, if I thought that I had a really good investment view, would I be able to share it on the platform somehow?
Yeah, for sure. So down here, there is this very nice post with AI function. And if you think that, I'm not gonna type it in right now, my typing is really bad. But if you think that, NVIDIA is overvalued based on, these key metrics, or if it's even undervalued based on its, historical PE metrics, you can definitely just type that in. And it would also you can AI complete it, which makes posting really easy. In addition to that, it can AI polish as well, which will polish your program and change the style of it. And you might be wondering where we're going to see it, right? Since we don't have a profile yet, but it would simply belong here within the feed itself. Excuse me.
And are the posts monitored or can anyone post anything?
So they do go through a filter, first with AI, and if needed, then by a couple of personnels. Since we think it's really important that we fill, right, the community with high quality data rather than, right, just junk. And that process is very meticulous on how do we define what is, good content, what provides an actually good perspective backed with hopefully some good thoughts and also data as well. So that is a process in itself as well. Yeah, sure. I can definitely use NVIDIA as an example. So for example, I think a way to use factor analysis on NVIDIA is you can test whether uh, right NVIDIA performs right. I think we all know that NVIDIA is outperforming the market, but I also think that it's important that we not only look at outperformance, right? I think it's good that we also take a look at, for example, its PE ratio among its peers. I'm sorry, what? Right, or some other metric. I thought it's from. Well, you can also do it here. So you can definitely activate factor analysis both from the beginning page as well as the agent page. So let's just run a quick test. Use NVIDIA. And usually these backtests do take a little bit of time as we are sifting through the data as well as calling the LLM. So we can just continue talking while I let this test run it back. Create a back test. I can't see what I'm writing. And sorry, the chat's really blocking my view. And first, right, it'll show you the parameters. And we sort of have to set that. And it would ask whether we want to, run these backtests with this parameter. I can edit this setting as well, but for time's sake, I'm not going to. Yeah, and we can let this run in the back while, if you guys have any other questions. Anyone?
Can then like generate like maybe like a pie chart of stocks or like generate a portfolio for you?
Um, it can generate a basket of stocks, that's for sure. For example, as I said, if you want a basket of stock that has high PE, low PE compared to its peers, or even right companies with strong fundamentals in the sense of like cash flow, in the sense of revenue, profit margins, gross profit. It can definitely like sift out those stocks and create a list for you. But unfortunately, we can't make a pie chart. I think, once it, encounters, we do have also, it's not that, we don't have we can't assign weights to these companies. It's more so that it's a visual tool that you can, probably just do in Excel once you identify the weights of these companies. And I think there's another one. Will we be able to cite backtest results, financial data, etc., from the tools for the investment report? Of course. You can just cite it directly from Stocky, and any metric that you use, any backtest, the fundamental data, or any data that we're providing as the company, you're absolutely be able to cite them. Yeah, as you can see, these backtest tools take a while because after all, it is, sifting through the data and then calling to the LLM.
Yeah, can you explain a little bit about what would happen when like a student joins Stocky? Are there any special things that happen?
Um, so to my knowledge, um, you guys would be once you create your Stocky account, you guys would be automatically pulled into a support chat as well. So during that process, if you guys have any question, any technical questions, or even if if there's a bug, right? Which I'm pretty sure there are plenty of. We're not perfect. Um, you know, we'd be happy to help you guys through the technicalities, and of course, listen to you guys' needs if you guys need anything. Great. Any other questions?
No,
Hello?
I don't have a question. I have no questions.
Okay. Here, finally, it has run out. Yeah. Good Wi-Fi helps too. Um, so that's definitely not helping me. But as you can see, right, we have our charts here since it's only a yearly backtest. And it can clearly see that NVIDIA outperforms the market, right? It's a very simple diagram. It's not hard to read. And plus it's interactive. Right? You can zoom in and zoom out. Maybe the Mac trackpad is just not meant for this, but yeah. And it will give you the total analyzed returns, volatility, drawdown, win rates. Me personally, I love looking at the Sharpe ratios. And usually, the higher the better, because that's your risk-adjusted returns, which I find is looking at return in an absolute sense usually is not the greatest because you can have a penny stock that shoots up 3,000% and then it crashes 3,000%. So well, that's not possible. It can only crash 100%. So looking at that risk adjusted sense is also really important as well. That's just a tip for you guys to consider. Great. Any other questions?
So does this platform cover like penny stocks or just like a lot of very small companies?
Um, Unfortunately, we don't cover all the stocks. I think if you go to the market cap below, in the billions, then we'd probably have a really hard time finding them. We do have a couple of, as I remember, crypto treasuries. For example, UPSI, um, or even SBET, I'm pretty sure. Oh, yes, SBET, right? These are, sort of a smaller crypto treasuries. But unfortunately, I don't think we cover all the penny stocks. As generally speaking, we try to cover, the mass consumers' needs before that.
I have a question. Are there
Yep.
any future plans to include companies from the Euronext or any other European stock exchanges?
Yes, of course. So as of right now, we have a lot of the US stocks as well as A shares. We're incorporating HK in the very near future, as well as more crypto in the very near future. I think we only have BTC, Solana, and ETH for the most part. Yeah. But in the future, we're definitely going to be looking at the greater exchanges within the EU. For example, the DAX, the FTSE. Those exchanges are really valuable for investors as well. And in the future, I can even foresee the Nifty 50, even the Japanese, uh, right? Yeah, and as well as the Japanese market as well. It's a very, very tedious process of combing through the data to make sure that all the data that we're inputting here is actually correct and backed with financial institutions rather than web scraping, right? Because we all know that's wildly inaccurate. And we have another question. Is this tool good for day trading or is it only for long-term investing? So I think it's important that we know that we do not have intraday data. That's coming for the future for sure. But I think if you're trying to manage, right, tick by tick or even minute by minute data, it's a lot. And we don't offer that yet. However, we can definitely do that for the foreseeable future. But I think, as a day trader, I sometimes day trade myself. It's important that, you sort of understand your market conditions, the fundamentals of a company before you even trade it. But of course, right, you have a stop loss, there's technicalities. But it's also a good terms to get a general sense of the market, right? You can feel the sentiment. You can look here at the technicals, right? Some of these indicators I'm sure you would use for your day trading, right? You can look at the RSI, the MACD, the ADX, right? And it would usually give you a summary of these indicators instead of you having to make that judgment on, for example, TradingView with a combination of these charts.
Yeah, just to talk more about the company range. Do you guys have like Adobe maybe, like a random company? Or how many
Yeah,
like
of course.
different companies
Adobe's
do
a
you have?
pretty large stock, so I'm pretty sure we would have it.
Yeah.
There it is. Right. And once again, we have our web crawled information sources.
Mm-hmm.
And actually, if you find, any of these sources that you're interested in, you can add it into the chat box. And this will create context for your agent. And then you can ask anything about this, right? This info in this video here, right? Exactly. You can ask it to explain the agent, explain you how this video affects, your process or like your principles. What sort of the key points that this video has in relation to Adobe, of course.
That's interesting.
And I think Abigail, what is Stocky's strongest tool? Personally, I think it's the backtesting tool. As a lot of the times, once again, it's really how good of the data you're feeding your agents or your LLM that makes right how good of a response you get. So we're feeding it obviously the cleanest data there is, and usually it will spit out the right answer, just because that our data is correct. So you guys will probably be gaining access, after this meeting. We'll be sending out the invite codes. We are by invitational basis. But yeah, I look forward to that part as well. But it would be soon. Any other questions?
Okay, if there are no other questions, I think we might be able to wrap it up right now. Okay, so thank you so much for that very helpful and insightful demo, and John for the introduction as well. All registered BGIC participants will receive an exclusive invitation code to explore the exciting Stocky AI platform right after this video, or right after this meeting. And here are a few important BGIC deadlines to remember. So you have to submit your report by Friday, August 8th, 2025, midnight EST for the US. And then the notification for next round students come out August 10th, 2025. And the grand finals, which are live, are August 17th, 2025, 1 p.m. EST. And then you should definitely consider starting now, since summer is the perfect time to sharpen investment research skills. And if there are any like final additional questions, you guys can feel free to ask them right now.
Yeah, raise your hands or drop them in the chat box.
I have a question about how does the Stocky streamline access to quantitative database and statistic libraries compared to other existing tools? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think I did this mention beforehand, where we're connected to an API source, for example, FinHub, Polygon, and other trusted sources as well. And a lot of the times, right, I feel like I'm a broken I'm a broken record, but a lot of the times that web scrape data is not accurate, they're not timestamped correctly, and neither are there. Sometimes you just have misinformation, or different calculating metrics as well. I think that's also a big factor on why sometimes the data is right not filtered through. However, all the data that we hear through the stock screener, the fundamental big data of PE, market cap, etc., and also our factor backtesting, all the prices, all timestamped, are all backed with trusted financial institutions data linked in with an API instead of web scraping.
Okay, thank you.
Gotcha. Great. Any other questions? No? Maybe Christina can wrap it up.
Okay, yeah. If there are any additional comments or questions, we can kind of finish up this meeting. So thank you so much to Nelson and John for your very helpful inputs today and allowing us to learn more about Stocky. And thank you guys all for joining us today, and best of luck to those of you who are participating in the competition.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.